All right, hello wine drinking people. We're back with more of what I've had to drink yesterday and a slew of great producers in the store to start the year out, and another very good Pinot producer on the same day we had the Bergstrom wines. Who comes in next? But Macphail Family Vineyards, and this is a producer that started his own label in 2002, and he uses all purchased fruit, all friends of his that he's met in the business throughout the years. And this gentleman also makes some wines for the Hess collection, Sequana, some single vineyard wines, also a blend. I think the Sequana 4 different vineyards, but we'll get to that in a minute. First up, we had a rosé wine from Macphail, and this wine is 2011 vintage. Kind of a difficult vintage all throughout California, and they get a lot of mold and a lot of rot and along the coast because it is so wet. So very difficult in areas like that, especially. They really have to be careful when they're in the vineyard throughout the course of the year, doing work there, pulling leaves and things like that to make sure they've got enough airflow. So you know what they say, great wines are made in the vineyard. Even though Mr. Macphail doesn't own any of these vineyards, he has complete control over how they were farmed. One of the most important things in making great wines. As the old cliche goes, great wines are made in the vineyard. But still, the hand of the winemaker has got a lot to do with making sure they don't get screwed up in the winery. And it seems like Mr. Macphail has got a hand for Pinot Noir because these wines were all excellent, and we ordered a few things to put on the shelf, which we have in the store now. The things that were, well, the least available, the smallest production wines, because I figured they would be gone after he was out tasting wines all day throughout South Florida yesterday, and probably right. The rosé, I'm not a huge fan of rosé, but this wine had a lovely, pretty rose petal-like bouquet on the nose, wild strawberries, a little hint of peppery spice there as well, sweet red cherry fruit on the palate with nice concentration and depth, finishing bone dry with those pretty floral notes and a little bit of spice. This wine is a Saunier Rosé. It's kept on the skin for 48 hours. And as I mentioned before, this is all fruit from long-term contracts. A very good little wine, $20 and $21.75. The Pinot Noir Santa Lucia Highlands from Sequana was next. This is the Hess Collection venture that Mr. Macphail consults for. This wine's got a bit of funkiness to the nose. Clone 667 and Pomard, dark raspberry fruit, good hand of spice and fresh earth. This vineyard sits right in the middle of the appellation, and this is on the Monterey Peninsula, so further south from Sonoma. And you get a lot of dark raspberry fruit, a nice hand of spice, and good freshness from these wines because it is a cooler climate there. The 2010 at 32.25. Really excellent bottle of Pinot. The Sequana Russian River. This wine's got a big and fruity nose, some wild strawberry coulis, light smoke, exotic spice, brown spice, cola, something you get from a lot of Russian River Pinots, some fresh earth, some nice complexity on the nose. This is the wine that's a blend of all the vineyard sources in the Russian River, which they have 4 different single vineyards they do at Sequana. A dense and rich wine on the tongue with lovely, silky, smooth, velvety tannins. One of the things we love about Pinot Noir, also that host of spice and a lovely freshness on the finish, a really zesty finish here. 2,000 cases of this wine produced excellent juice. So we didn't have any of the single vineyards, so we're going to go right on from Sequana, go right on to the Macphail family wines, the Sangiacomo Sonoma Coast. A lot of people associate Sangiacomo with Carneros, and they do own some vineyards out on the Sonoma Coast. The largest grape-growing family in Sonoma, I believe, are one of them. And this one is located in the Petaluma Gap, the Sonoma Coast, a huge appellation. A lot of the vineyards that are designated Sonoma Coast, nowhere near the coast. But this one does have that cooling effect from the coast being in the gap there. This wine's got a lovely dark cherry fruit, exotic spice, really nice complexities, some toffee and brown spices here also. Around 40% new oak, so not a ton of new oak, but you do notice some of that spice and a lovely silky, sexy texture on the tongue. Nice bright acidity still in this wine, holding things together. A good hand of brown spice on the finish there as well. Excellent juice at $51. The 2009 Wildcat Vineyard. This is Wildcat Vineyard is owned by Steve McCross. He only sells wine, I think, to one other producer here, but a good amount of smoky bacon fat fruit here to the black raspberry, wild strawberry fruit. Really lovely intensity, some animal notes there, a brown spice, fresh plowed earth. Really nice complexity in this wine. A lovely sweet black cherry fruit on the palate, dark spices, and once again, lovely freshness and pretty floral notes on the finish. Most excellent juice. That was one of my favorite wines on the table from Macphail. The Pinot Noir Sonoma Coast 2009, a blend of 4 single vineyards, Duprat, Gaps Crown, Wildcat, and Sangiacomo. And, well, Macphail worked with Mary Edwards and Gary Farrell, two of the wineries that make very good Pinot, also in Sonoma. Good amount of brown spice here on the nose, some smoky, earthy nuances, that dark cherry berry fruit, and some green minty notes here as well. I love that in Pinot Noir. Some nice spice, some mint, a little hint of vegetal, but a lot of that red berry fruit here showing on the tongue, smooth and silky with good freshness through the finish. Excellent juice, the 2009 Sonoma Coast. And then we have the 2010 Anderson Valley Toulouse Vineyard. Rotor Estate pretty much put Anderson Valley on the map when they moved in, and Pinot Noir and Chardonnay are the two varietals they planted. So Pinot Noir destined to be famous in this part of California. This is the first vineyard, James Macphail, not Josh Macphail, picked up in 2002. This is one of, so a really nice smoky bacon fat nuance in this nose here, dark raspberry fruit, exotic spices, good amount of spice and earth here, complexity on the nose. This was the one we picked up immediately because I only had 2 6-packs of this wine. Oh, I'm sorry, no, the Fratini Shams is the one we picked up immediately. The next one, that was the one I only had 2 6-packs of available. Sweet black raspberry fruit, a good hand of dark spices and floral notes to this wine, and some tannins here on the finish. One of the things you get from Anderson Valley wines, as well as a firm hand of acidity holding everything together. Very firm but elegant at the same time. A nice hand of spice, this Toulouse Vineyard. And I'm sorry, the Macphail family Fratini Shams Vineyard, also from Anderson Valley, one of the wines we picked up immediately. This wine, only a 2-acre vineyard in the heart of Anderson Valley, all 115 Dijon clone, only 8 barrels produced, and this is the only wine that's a single clone from Macphail. A bit reserved on the bouquet, coming through on the nose with a good bit of earth here coming through and some truffly notes, but a little bit shy at first on the palate though. Wow, this wine is big and spicy, a good amount of tannin showing up on the finish, and bright dark raspberry fruit, really long and layered. It just takes a little while to open up on the nose. This wine is most excellent. I'd love to try it again in 6 to 8 months from now. That's what we had to drink with James Macphail. I'm your host, Andrew Lampasoni, signing off for the Wine Watch, saying remember, always drink the good stuff first.